Now let's have a look at the next part of this chapter. And now, till now we've studied that carbon forms bonds with hydrogen, right? We've seen hydrogen forming bonds with carbon, and it forms a lot of bonds with hydrogen. But it needs to be noted that carbon can form bonds with other elements as well, such as halogens, um, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, all these things. It can form bonds with them as well, right? So let's have a look at that perspective now, right? So carbon can form bonds with other elements, and these elements, when bonded with carbon, replace hydrogen, right? So the elements or the atoms that replace hydrogen from a particular compound and bond with carbon are called heteroatoms. Okay, so heteroatoms are basically the atoms that replace hydrogen in hydrocarbons, right? And they further bond with carbon and influence its properties, the properties of the compound, right? Now, let's have a look at another concept, right? Now, sometimes what happens is an atom or a group of atoms links with it's a heteroatom, and it links with an organic compound, and it influences its physical and chemical properties, right? So a group of atoms or an atom which is a heteroatom replaces hydrogen, links with an organic compound, and it influences its physical and chemical properties, right? So an atom or a group of atoms that is present in an organic compound and influences its physical and chemical properties is what we call a functional group. Okay, we call it a functional group. Okay, that's what we call a functional group. So functional groups are very essential in organic chemistry, and there are many functional groups. For our course, we mainly have about five functional groups. The first one is the halo group, right? The halo group of atoms, right? So they replace hydrogen, as I told you, the influence of physical and chemical properties. In the halo group, we have all halogens, right? That is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. When these combine with an organic compound, they influence its physical and chemical properties, and they form something called a haloalkane. Okay, they form haloalkanes. Okay, we'll learn more about this during nomenclature, right? IUPAC nomenclature. The next functional group we have is hydroxyl group. Okay, hydroxyl group, where the atoms which replace hydrogen, that is the heteroatoms, are OH. So there is an OH, better write it like this, it's OH. So an OH is attached, okay, OH is a hydroxyl group, and it attaches to an organic compound and gives it the form of an alcohol. Okay, so when OH is attached to an organic compound, it forms an alcohol, right? The third functional group which we have is carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid, right? And for this, the functional group, to an organic compound, we attach the heteroatom COOH, right? To COOH. And better write this like this: C double bond O, and to the C we attach OH. So it is written like this. And to this we attach the whatever the other part of the organic compound, right? Because this is going to replace the hydrogen, right? So that's carboxylic acid, the next functional group. The next functional group we have is aldehyde group. Okay, aldehyde group. And this aldehyde group has the formula CHO. And when you write this like this in this structural manner, then it is like this: a double bond with oxygen and then a single bond with hydrogen. So just the difference in an aldehyde is that from a carboxylic acid, in carboxylic acid we have an oxygen attached to the hydrogen which is attached to the carbon. Here we don't have any oxygen attached to that hydrogen, right? So that's aldehyde. Next is number 5, which is the last functional group we have in our course, although there are many others. We have the last functional group in our course, which is the ketone group. Okay, ketone group. And The formula for this is like this. Okay, so a carbon double bonded with an oxygen. That's a ketone group, right? So these are the 5 functional groups we have in our course. These are atoms or group of atoms which are linked or which bond with an organic compound or a hydrocarbon and influence its physical and chemical properties, right? So we have the halo group, that is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, or iodine. Then we have hydroxyl group, that's OH. We have carboxylic acid, which is COOH. We have aldehyde, which is just CHO, and we have ketone, which is CO. It's also written like this, right? So these are the 5 functional groups we have, and they also play a prominent role in our nomenclature. When they are present in a hydrocarbon, there is a particular method we have to follow while naming the hydrocarbon, right? So that's it. Here we need to understand that carbon does bond with hydrogen, but it also bonds with many other elements. Thank you very much, and please look forward for the next video in which we will be discussing the homologous series.